active in all kinds of service to Faulkner County over the last 2 decades, maybe more, and a tireless supporter of research and education through his founding of the Arkansas Research Alliance, which importantly and cleverly pairs that research with entrepreneurship through public and private partnerships. All right, thank you.
Enough about me. Again, it's an honor to be here. It's going to be an honor to introduce Joyce. I've got a few comments to make. I'm a proud resident of Conway, Arkansas. I'm a native Arkansan, born in Fort Smith, raised in St. Louis. I came back from Dallas to help start Axiom back in 1973. So I've been here since '73, and I love Conway. I love Faulkner County, and I love Arkansas. It doesn't mean I like everything about it. I've known Joyce for probably 20 years. We were active in an organization called Accelerate Arkansas, which is still focused on building a knowledge economy in Arkansas. I worked with Joyce in the Arkansas Advanced Initiative for Math and Science. That's really changed the landscape of advanced placement. It's democratized it. The minority and the woman portion of advanced placement has gone through the roof thanks to the Arkansas Initiative for Math and Science. I also want to recognize that the future of our country is having a multiracial democracy. It's also to have a multicultural democracy. And what we have in Joyce Elliott is an accessible, tough-minded, fair leader. Someone who believes in science. Okay. That's SCIENCE. Our CDC has attempted to bring that to us, but we've been politically overridden. So it's a great honor to be here. It's a great honor to introduce my good friend, Joyce Elliott.
Take your mask off. Okay. Take your mask off. They can't hear you.
First of all, I want to know, can everybody hear this okay? You want me to be louder? Say, well, if you can hear okay, then I am ready to get this party started. Shall we go? The first thing I want to do is to thank everybody who had any kind of hand in putting this together. This is something brand new for us. In the time of the pandemic, we just have to decide as we go, how can we make ourselves more accessible to people? And people have worked very hard in making sure this is a success, and I think you have done it. You have set the pattern of what we can do going forward. And Jerry Adams, my good friend Jerry Adams, and yes, Jerry, we have been through some things together. But they turned out well, and I thank you so much for being here today to introduce me. That is quite special for me. I have my notes, so I don't talk to you all afternoon. So when I shift my notes, shift with me. How about that? I am a proud, unapologetic Democrat. That is who we are. I am a proud Democrat who is willing to stand up and fight for what we know is right. It is not going to be handed justice. She has laid down a marker for us to follow. And if we want to honor her, we need to remember to do that work. It's heavy. Sometimes we don't know what to do. Sometimes we feel as if it's too much. But we know we've got to do the work. And if all of us can come together and do that, that's exactly what we must do to be successful. But this made me, last night when I learned that Justice Ginsburg had passed away. When I learned that Justice Ginsburg had passed away, it took me back to my time when I was 17 years old. I was 17 years old when Dr. King passed away. And that was a time that is seared in my soul. Because he was everything for having some hope for the future for people who look like me and many others. But Dr. King, though, had awakened in me this notion that you have to do what that iron string in your heart is telling you to do. So his legacy validated in me this thing that I had long felt, that when that little voice inside of you is talking to you and telling you there is something wrong, you must get up and do something. It does not mean sitting on the sofa and screaming at the TV and throwing beer cans at the TV. That's not what it means. He was important to me when I was in the 10th grade and I had to integrate a public school in Willisville, Arkansas, because I grew up in a tiny little town of 152 people. Only 9 people in my graduating class. If you're integrating a school in 1966, not a lot of people are going to be happy about you being there. So we were in this school. We were integrating the school. As the master, the superintendent, gathered all the black students in the hallway. It was not a meeting that was in an office, in the hallway. And he said to us, you have now integrated this school, and you can go back to your black school. And I'm standing there thinking, there must be some reason he wants me to go back. I don't know that that's right. But the other black students were excited about the opportunity to go back, and I understood that. Who doesn't want to be treated better? But something in me said, no, I'm not going. And then I was immediately scared to death. Because nobody else said, I'm not going. And I was hoping somebody else was going to stay, but the rest of the families did not stay. I was relieved when my brothers and sisters decided they would stay with me, and they did. But I did that because I listened to that voice that said, there's something wrong here. At 15, I knew there was something wrong here, and somebody had to stand up for it. So in that place, my life was upended. I had a plan already from the time I was in the 4th grade that I was going to go to an HBCU because I knew that's how I could get a scholarship to go to college, and my college would be virtually paid for. All of that was upended. So sometimes you can't take a stand without sacrifice. Remember that. Sometimes you can't. But in this case, it was upended, but in the end, it was the right thing to do because of the way I was treated at that school. I was determined to become a teacher and be the teacher that every student needed. Every student. So I taught school for 30 years. I taught school for 30 years, and out of that teaching, I know I was able to help all kinds of students. Because I realized the students who treated me, I guess, less than well at my school, it was not really their fault. They had been shaped by adults for us to see each other differently, to treat me differently just because I was a black student in an all-white school. So I knew when I became a teacher, those white students needed me as a role model just as much as the black students did. They needed me too. It was not their fault. After teaching school for 30 years, I began to see some of the things Jerry needed to change at the legislature. At the time that I ran for the legislature, I was still teaching school, actually. So I was partially in the legislature and also teaching. And when I went to the legislature, you know, teachers don't make a lot of money to start with. I had to take leave, and hear this word, without pay. By the time I got out of there, I owed every bill there was to owe by the time I got out. But it was successful. So I was able to be there. I was able to be there and help make the changes that needed to be made. So we were able to start one of the premier pre-Ks in the world, in this country, in Arkansas, by being in the legislature. We were able to grow toward, even if we didn't get there, we were able to grow toward a world-class school system. We were able to do so many things that we thought we couldn't do because we decided to work together. We were able to lower the taxes on middle and lower class families because we stood together and worked across party lines. And yes, Arkansas was the first state in the South to expand Medicaid that covered 300,000 more people. This is the work I have done. And in order to do this work in Arkansas, I had to work with people. I am telling you people, I can take these skills to Washington. I can work with people across party lines. And I want to remind you that right now, the choice couldn't be more clear. Do we want to elect someone who can move us forward? Do we? Do we want to follow the example of RGB and Dr. King and all of the other American giants that we have recently lost, like Elijah Cummings and John Lewis? Do we want to follow them? A few more questions for you and I'll be finished here. Do we want somebody who wants to push us forward with health care for everyone? Or do we want somebody who votes time and time again who take away health care? Well, he has great health care, I assure you. Do we want someone who will push for progress in education? Or someone who did nothing to to keep us from being at risk during this pandemic, putting us in a position of having a lost year for our kids? Do we want somebody who's going to work so that working families can progress and keep more of what they earn, rather than somebody who votes for a lifetime tax increase on the middle class, because that's what that tax increase is? While we make sure the folks who are well-to-do and the Wall Street barons will get a permanent tax break, but the middle-class tax break is permanent. There's nothing to cheer about here. And finally, as I suggest to you that the choice could be more clear, the time could not be more urgent. The time could not be more urgent. I want you to listen to that little voice that I listened to when I was a 15-year-old. I've not been sorry since. You have it. Don't ignore it. That voice is telling you right now what to do. And it may be different for all of us, but what I'm saying to you is do it. Here are the things you can do. Volunteer. Donate. Vote. Bring everyone that you know along with you to vote. But more than anything, let's come together and win this race. Let's win this race. But not just this race. Let's win every down ballot race there is on the ballot. Let's win them all. And folks, if you listen to that voice, if you remember all the things that Jerry Adams reminded you that we were able to work together to achieve, we can do so much more, then the only way to go will be to go forward.